appreciate that. And Paul, you didn't know I was going to say this, but I got to tell everybody, Paul is my parents' neighbor 2 doors down. In the morning of the passing, he came over, and I didn't know this until a little while ago, that he did life-saving techniques and CPR on my father to try to save him. And Paul, I want to personally thank you for doing that. That's just the kind of people that my dad would want to be associated with. And I was sitting here thinking about what you told me, and I want to personally thank you publicly. I hope I didn't embarrass you. No. My story is called Fish in a Bucket. And one of the earliest recollections of the time with my dad is he loved the gardening, and he'd have me out front. There was a house up on Elrose, and he would take me over to the faucet, and he'd have a steel bucket, and he'd turn the water on, and he'd look in there, and he says, "You see the fish around in there?" And I'm looking, and I must have been 4, 5, 6 years old, I don't know. And I'm all, "There's no fish in there, Dad." He says, "No, look. And the water's going around the bucket and everything. And he kept saying, this went back and forth for a while. And finally he convinced me that there was a fish in there. I said, "Yeah, I see the fish." He's all, "Really? Well, where is it?" I said, "It's right there." I'm all, "Dad, there's no fish in there." You know? And that's kind of some of the humor that my dad had. You would talk to some of his friends and people that know him. I mean, Dad just had a sense of humor. Over the years, me and my dad spent a lot of time working around the house, doing repair projects and stuff. And I always had a love for fixing things, although when I was younger, my parents tell me I had the love of taking things apart, but then I couldn't figure out how to get them back together. And apparently one day Dad came home and the shower door was off in the bathroom, and "Todd, what are you doing?" And so that was one of the things. I would take them off and then kind of leave them there. Even though Dad didn't have a lot of patience as he got older, he found patience when he was trying to teach me something about. And one thing I distinctly remember is how to saw a 2x4 and he used to tell me how to keep the blade bent a certain way so it cuts straight. And later on he would just get frustrated with certain things, and I'd go over and help him. But there was something about that time that teaching his son how to do something, he had the patience to do it. I think that's the sense of a true father. We used to go many trips to Osh. You all know of it as Orchard Supply Hardware, and other hardware stores around, and to get a piece of pipe. We're fixing a pipe in the front yard or whatever, and it was never one trip. It would waste your Saturday going back and forth. But I was with my dad, and we'd be in the plumbing section, and "Okay, Todd, get one of these and one of those," and that's kind of what we did. We also, in the 70s and 80s, my mom was a real estate agent, and believe this or not, the wooden signposts, we were one of the first ones to build those around here. Before, they used to have little metal stakes you put in, and Mom had said, "Hey, this is a pretty good business you guys did." So we went to Sears and bought a radial arm saw, and we used to go over to Scarborough Lumber and buy the 4x4s, and I'd be out there in my teens cutting them, and we'd put them together, and we'd paint them in our garage. And then we go out and install them with the pole saw digger all over Santa Clara County. And a lot of times we'd hit the sprinkler pipes at the people's house. Well, where's the closest Orchard Supply? We'd be running up there. Same thing, trying to find pipe, and we did it raining. And the worst was up in Milpitas where they had that black clay, and when it was in, and you put the post in them, and it'd be falling over. So we'd be going looking for rocks and trying to shimmy in, and we're okay, it's cold now, get a couple more, and try to get to stand up, and then we did that, right? Another thing we did as a family every year was put up the Christmas lights and go up to Santa Cruz Mountains and cut down a fresh tree. Now, the way that the Christmas lights worked is we'd get them up, we'd get them all strung up, me and Dad and everything, and then he'd get back and he'd be looking at the lights, and he'd have me go up and down the ladder. I said, "No, wait a minute, Todd, there's 2 oranges there. Why don't you put a green and a blue?" And again, we're running out of bulbs, back to Orchard Supply to get Christmas light bulbs. Okay? And one of the things, who was I talking to? Somebody knows a story about the Christmas tree. I don't remember who I was talking to earlier, but yeah. We used to go there for years when we were kids. Dad had an old Studebaker station wagon, and I guess one year Mom was pouring down rain, and we did this every year. You have to understand, there was no fake tree. My wife wanted a fake tree. We got in this argument the past couple weeks. Mom, I want one that smells like pine, not the spray pine, the real, real tree. That's what I grew up with, sawing it down and taking it home, right? Pouring rain, we're in the car, we're looking out, he gets out, he goes, first tree, saws it down, he throws it, he's all soaked away, gets it home. It was one of the best trees we ever had. Dad worked for car dealerships for many years before he got into the automotive chemical business. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. I used to work for him many summers. He used to take me down to the dealerships all the time and help him out there. And he used to taught me a number of things. He used to teach me how to look up parts in the catalog. He used to teach me how to say the part numbers. And in the sense of Chrysler part numbers and stuff, there was a certain way that you said it. He said, I think the first 4 digits and then the last 3 digits. And that's how you did it. He taught me how to stock the shelves. And he also had me order parts on the computer system. Now, that was back in the late 70s. It wasn't like the computers we have today. This was a paper-based teletype computer where you would type it and then you'd hit return and you'd wait and it would type it back. The modem, you took the phone off the thing and you put it into these little rubber cups. Now some of you that are younger wouldn't know what I'm talking about, but that was the early modem. And it would talk to the main computer. And he would let me order parts. And then when they came in the next day, I would go check them off and put them on the shelf. And I didn't know later that that may have been a precursor to me deciding to get in the computer field, something I've done for 23 years. And during that time, I turned 16 and got my driver's license. Was still working for my dad, Las Gatas Chrysler Plymouth here, actually in Las Gatas, not far from here. And a lot of things I used to do is deliver body shop parts to body shops. So my dad was involved in the body shop business with you guys on a wholesale business selling parts for dealerships before he ended up selling you chemicals and paint and stuff and supplies later on in his life. And I was telling Mom that he even had me drive up to the Chrysler warehouse in Hayward, California. Now, I'm 16 years old. I'm driving a 72 Dodge pickup truck up Highway 17, and it was 17 back then before it was 880, all the way up to Hayward, and I was only 16. My mom got a kick out of there, and I was telling her that, she says, because she was always kind of just careful of the boys, you know, well, Russell, don't push him to do stuff. My dad's all, hey, Todd, go up and pick up some parts. Where am I going? Well, just go up there, and when you get there and go. And he just sent me. Here I have this kid driving this big truck. I can't even really see over the front. But that's how he was, okay? And I was with him a lot growing up. And Darren was into the sports. Dad had his own time with Darren in the Little League and sports and stuff. I was more the, auto mechanic, computer, technical, so we each had our different things. But this is the kind of thing that Dad knew that I liked to do, and he liked having me, his son, with him, and to do those things. There's many other things that I could talk about me and my dad doing. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time today, but I just want to let you know that I loved him dearly, and I know he's watching over us, and that he's now in a better place. Again, thank you all for coming.
I think your dad started training you to repair things because you were tearing them apart first, maybe. And so that was the reason for it. Later on, you can ask Darren if that's true and see if that's what his brother was doing.